There are over 2,000 African languages spoken by around 1.4 billion people.
There has been issues surrounding curation of data, especially in the area of speech datasets. On the internet, you have very few of spoken languages in African language.
But where do you get African languages from? Your first source would be the communities that speak the African languages, right? So you go to the community, record them. The minute you make the recording, then you have created a copyright work, and whoever who has made the recording owns the copyright.
When we're looking at text data mining, it can be used in two ways. It can be used for good, where we develop AI for good, AI for health, and the like. However, when it's used without any restrictions, it can be harmful or exploitative. Where in the case of a community data being used, it can be used for commercial benefit of another person, yet they do not get any benefit from it.
So what ends up happening is that the communities that created these data sets end up paying for products that are built on the data sets that they created.
The challenge that is being faced currently is where you have two users who want access to data, African data. However, they have different unique contexts. We have one user who has more resources to be able to process this data and use it. We have another user who has less resources, who's not able to process this data.
You've been working on a license for creators to make work available for AI training, amongst other purposes, in Africa, but not elsewhere. Tell us a bit about that.
This was a collaboration between CPIT's director, Dr. Melissa Omino, and the University of Pretoria in South Africa, Dr. Chijioke Okorie, from the Data Science Law Lab. So they came together and they came up with an alternative open licensing model called the Nwolite Obodo Open Data License, or NOODL for short.
So Nwolite Obodo is Igbo, I'm Igbo, for community raising, community development. We've grown from a research group at the University of Pretoria to a research network of researchers from both Anglophone and Francophone Africa.
This is a different or a unique license because it creates a two-tier system. And so the features of the license apply differently, where there's a broad open access to African users, which means that they do not have to pay royalties to use this data.
If you are from a developing country, let's say you're from Brazil, and you want to use the data that is licensed under this regime, then you can use it under Creative Commons license. If you are a multi-million-dollar tech company that wants to use the license, then you need to negotiate with the AI developers who collected the data, and the license also ensures that the community gets a benefit.
Each user or recipient of copyright or an exception to copyright has to comply with the law exactly as it is. When we look at a license, you're able to pick how different users are able to access the copyright or have an exception to the copyright. And so that's the difference where we have the law and the licenses.
We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We like the Creative Commons licenses, but we're saying context requires a different type of license.
So what are the criteria? It's where you are,
yes,
how rich you are,
and also what you're using it for.
And what you're using it for.
But also thinking about the public interest in terms of access benefit sharing for the community. Because essentially communities are just seen as sources of data.
Lanafrica is an NGO. We have innovative ways of providing AI tools and resources, especially where it pertains to Africa. We saw the whole idea of exploitation of data as something of a mindset. When you're out to mine something, you're actually exploiting that thing. We now say, okay, let's have a new approach, which we call data farming. So we now decided to work directly with the language communities. And in doing that, we turn the village squares into laboratories. And then we get them to record their voices. Niger Voices is one of the projects that we undertook. We were able to get 1,800 hours of audio speech data in 3 major Nigerian languages. And as at now, that stands as the biggest volume of curated speech data set in Africa. When we finished the creation of data like the Niger Voices project, we were able to get a license that enabled us to ensure that if you are using a data set for research, it is free. But if you are using it for commercial purposes, then you come to have a partnership agreement with us so that you donate some money, which will go back to this same community for them to create more data, because we need more data in Africa. The copyright doesn't belong to us. We direct you to the owner of that very article. But we also have another aspect of the Lanfrica, which we call the talk series, where we also invite researchers who have done significant works in African languages to come and discuss what they're doing.
Language does not exist in a vacuum. It is preserved and curated by communities. And if somebody collects it and ends up creating something that has a monetary value at the end of it, then where you obtained it from must have some sort of benefit.